Pukeology podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Pukeology.
What happened to my belly button this pregnancy? Don't worry, this doc is about to tell you all about your belly button changes when you're pregnant, from what to expect during your third trimester where it pops out, and what is the purpose of your baby's belly button anyway, on today's Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 58, Belly Button Changes During Your Pregnancy. Want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now, and get 25% off with the code PUKE25. That's PUKE25, all found at nomonausea.com. Or just place your no more nausea band on your baby registry for your delivery bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it shipped for free in just 2 days as an Amazon Prime vendor. And your little ones are always taken care of with the first No More Nausea Kids and No More Sleepless Nights Kids, which actually works on moms with little wrists that can't sleep too. All available at your local CVS store. Or just go check it out, cvs.com. Do you want to hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants? Like you don't have to pee all the time anyway, with hilarious stories like Popcorn Paradise or Nightmare, Pop Goes the Sick Weasel, and Baby Bird's Nest. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind the 6 different types of belly buttons and how pregnancy changes all of them. Will my belly button go back to normal after the pregnancy? You'll find out real soon. And can you change the shape of your belly button with old wives' tales, like a quarter? Plus, 6 natural ways to care for your newborn stump, which is their very first beginning of a belly button. All this and more coming up on today's episode 58, Belly Button Changes During Pregnancy.
The science of puke, Pukeology.
Belly button changes during your pregnancy. Is your belly button connected to something in your abdomen? If you thought it was, unfortunately, you're wrong. Well, that's if you're a normal, regular adult, right? So your belly button was at one point in time connected to your uterus, which is a placenta, and again, the baby's belly button. So your uterus in your mama's belly was connected to the placenta through your baby's belly button. Again, the navel is not really connected to anything. And we call it a navel once that little stump ends up falling out once you become an adult. Now that you're aware of what your navel is and a part of, it's just an abdominal part of skin, it's time to learn more about your belly buttons. In uterine life, meaning inside the womb, the umbilical cord connects the baby to the placenta. The umbilical cord contains blood vessels that deliver nutrients and oxygen to the baby and carries waste away from your baby in the womb because all of their organ functions just aren't working yet. So they need their mama to clean all of their essentials. The function of the umbilical cord ends after the baby is born. It is therefore cut, leaving what we call an umbilical stump. It's that kind of raisin looking thing that's inside of newborn belly buttons. That's the newborn stump. The stump eventually falls off a few weeks after birth, leaving what is now called the belly button, or AKA the navel. While you may not be concerned about your navel when you're not pregnant, you might find yourself thinking about your belly button when you are pregnant. It is one of the body parts that changes significantly during pregnancy. So let's talk about the types of belly buttons. The innie versus the outie. Those are the most common types of belly buttons, and you'll hear the most popular titles of them. So an outie. An outie is what you call a protruding belly button. It's about 1 in 10 people have a protruding belly button. But if you look down at your own belly, Again, 9 out of 10 people have an innie. And even if you have an innie as a mommy and you're pregnant, more than likely it will literally pop the other way to become an outie because it's running out of room. You have to remember, in those outie type of belly buttons, some part of the umbilical stump is outside rather than inside. And that's important because it changes the actual shape. So you have many different varying types of innies and outies, but a protruding navel literally is exactly what it sounds like. It looks like a button that's literally protruded out. Now, a horizontal navel is what it says. It's horizontal in shape. It looks like it's being pulled. Kind of think of like an Asian type of belly button. Another type is an innie outie, which it goes inside, but it still has that little button. And then again, let's talk about all of the innies. The deep and round navel, the oval shape, the vertical oblong navel. Go look at your belly button. Amuse yourself. I'll tell you right now, mine is pretty deep and round navel. So that's the type of belly button that I have as I look down at my belly. So again, we talk about the different types of belly buttons. They're found in all shapes and sizes, and they're beautiful all different ways. Deep and hollow, which resembles slightly like an open mouth. Aww. Vertical, which is typically very narrow and sometimes called a split belly button because, again, it is vertical up and down and it looks like a little slit. Horizontal, sometimes called the T belly button. You'll actually see that it goes sideways, what I was talking about, the sideways pull. Round, which is concave and protruding on the inside. It appears to be symmetrically round. And light bulb, which appears like an upside down beer or wine bottle. I know, ladies, you haven't had anything to drink in the past 9 months, but maybe that's what you think of when you think of your actual belly button. Now, belly button changes during your pregnancy. Early on in your pregnancy, not many changes occur to your belly button, but you will notice changes later in your second trimester. Some women, I get this question from patients, they say, why do I have pain around my belly button? Or why is it so itchy and red? Believe it or not, if it's that, then there's something that's actually infected on the inside of your own belly button. So it has nothing to do with the baby because your belly button is not the one that's actually connected to the baby. Interesting, right? So as your pregnancy progresses, the uterus increases in size, pushing your abdomen forward. The growing abdomen makes your belly pop out. It's perfectly normal when your belly button pops out during pregnancy. That's why they have all these baby showers that are called about to pop. I know that I used to wear a shirt when I went into, and the shirt says, I'm about to pop, is what my shirt said, to try to signify. I was very small with my first pregnancy, so I wanted everybody to know that I didn't just eat a big hamburger, that I actually was pregnant, and I was delivering that way. Again, it's perfectly normal for your belly button to pop out. Worry not. A popping out belly button during the pregnancy is completely harmless. However, if you're getting irritated by clothes rubbing against your navel, you might want to cover up your belly button or think of some other way to make you feel much more comfortable because it's an irritation of your own skin. You may also feel pain around your belly button. While there's no clear medical reason or indication that you may experience navel pain, it's believed to occur because it's found as the thinnest area of your belly. And some women and men have what's called umbilical hernias at birth, or that's such a small area that sometimes their intestines, believe it or not, protrude out. So if you've ever seen a little baby that literally whenever they grunt or when they try to fart or poop or whatever that may be, it goes poop, and it looks like this little ball or this little balloon pops out of their belly button and it sticks out and it retracts back in. And usually most of the time, it is actually fixed with surgical intervention to fix the actual hernia, and they do what's called mesh. It's kind of like a little, like a plaster or like a knit, like your screen door. There you go. It's like a screen that goes over top of the area of the belly button that's actually stapled in so that you cannot have your intestines that pop through. Now, most babies will get this fixed, but I will tell you that if you are having a little bit of pain, you might actually be a person that has a very, very, very thin lining, meaning that you may have a problem with an umbilical hernia later on in life. Or if you're like a weightlifter, for example, cycle and you're constantly grunting, lifting heavy items, you may actually be more prone to an umbilical hernia yourself. Now, will the belly button stay or will it go? Now that is the question. And again, after birth. So during birth, the baby comes out and the placenta is later removed. So this reduces the contents of the placenta. It gets rid of it from your body, and that happens vaginally. And or if you have a C-section, obviously it comes out of the exact same hole from the lower part of your pelvis. The abdominal wall is also relieved of pressure due to the products of conception. So you get rid of the baby and all those extra items. As a result, the popping out navel starts to go back in as a normal before belly button. While it may appear slightly stretched out, or like I like to call it, lived in, your belly button will get right back to its pre-pregnant position a few months later after giving birth. So when should you be concerned about the changes of your belly button? Rarely happens, but popping out navel can be a sign of a medical condition that we talked about called an umbilical hernia. So again, a hernia means protruding from where? The umbilicus, or your belly button. In an umbilical hernia, abdominal contents such as the intestines protrude out through a small hole in the abdominal wall into the umbilical area. Most umbilical hernias are congenital, meaning they are passed on from generation to generation, appearing as early as birth. And some umbilical hernias might be small enough not to even really be noticed by women that aren't pregnant. But when they become pregnant, whoa, everything's been pushed out, you're stretched in, you're lived in, and then boom, it pops it out because of the pressure that's exerted on the abdominal wall when you are carrying products of conception. So the baby, the uterus, your placenta, everything. Okay. So consider visiting your practitioner, like a family practice physician, and or if you need to go see a general surgeon to go fix your umbilical hernia. And believe it or not, guys, I know that we talked about the 6 different types of belly buttons, but they actually have plastic surgeons now that subspecialize in fixing your belly button. So if it's always been something, if you're a bikini model and it bothers you or something, there are plastic surgeons that will specialize in that. I find it very, very interesting. Well, now that we're talking about some really comical stuff, let's get into our hilarious puke stories.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
I know why little kids sell popcorn in a huge bin. Once you pop, you just can't stop. And that was the story of my life during my second pregnancy. I started on one section of the popcorn bin and ended up eating the whole thing. My stomach was so upset, but I didn't think anything of it until I went to go pick up my little one from VPK. And on the road to get there, I got car sick and threw up all over the entry to the school. The safety officer asked me if I was okay and then said, "What were you eating? It looks like bird food." I was so embarrassed and felt so sick. I haven't had the stomach to try popcorn ever again. Thanks so much, Heidi, for that hilarious puke story. I've been afraid of clowns and circus stuff since I was little. I don't know why, it just creeps me out. We decided to take our daughter to the circus, and I wasn't but 8 weeks pregnant, so we weren't going to tell anybody yet. A clown creeped up behind me with a ferret and was singing the song, "Pop Goes the Weasel." I got so scared that I jumped and immediately started vomiting on the clown's shoes. I now know why. I know he had paint on his face, but I'm sure his face was actually saying, "Lady, this was so gross." We decided to forego the circus for our next bundle of joy. Thanks, Tiffy Cakes 1-2 for that hilarious puke story. I have to say, I will never think of clowns the exact same way. Now, one day, I was looking inside of my pregnant, beautiful belly button and noticed that there was something black in there. I had never been told that I was supposed to clean my own belly button. Well, I decided to get in there because it was like literally up really close. And I guess that's just where I hold a lot of food whenever I eat. Ew. All of a sudden, I started digging around and lo and behold, it looked like a bunch of wadded hair, like a baby bird's nest inside of my belly button. And when I pulled it out, I was so grossed out about it that I literally started dry heaving immediately and had to go to the toilet to go throw up. Thank you so much. They did not leave their Twitter handle, but thank you for that hilarious puke story. I have to say, clean your belly button, ladies and gentlemen. As a physician working in the operating room for over 10 years, I will say, please clean your belly button. You never know when you're going to have surgery, and that's the first thing that we do. Thanks again for that hilarious puke story. Now, do you have one that you just have to share with me? Send it to me at Pukeology, Pukeology at nomonausea.com. That's nomonausea.com. Or tweet me at Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
I get this question from my best friends all the time when they have a baby. How do I keep their little belly button clean as a newborn? Well, think of your baby's last souvenir of the baby's uterus. That's the stump, okay? That's the umbilical cord stump. That's like the raisin. Other people say it looks like a pile of dirt. If you have a newborn, or if you've ever had a newborn, you will notice that they have this umbilical remnants, right, of what their cord used to be attached to. And some people claim, or some women especially, claim that they are able to turn their baby's belly buttons into an innie by taping a quarter to it, but it's just not true. So let me tell you about belly buttons, okay? The belly button outcome is completely random, meaning the type of belly button that you're going to have is random. But being that it's random, the umbilical cord is always cut in the exact same way. It's clamped well away from the navel and doesn't usually affect the innie or the outie status. So that's why they actually use 2 clamps, okay? And then they have the dad go in and take a pair of scissors, and surgical scissors, I will say, and go ahead and cut the actual umbilical cord. Okay, now that is what will end up creating the navel once that little piece falls off. Now, the shape of the belly button a person ends up with, however, is determined by how the umbilical cord was attached, not where it was cut. So I'm going to say that again. The shape of a person's belly button and how it ends up looking is determined by how the umbilical cord was attached. So when you were attached to your mommy, it depends on how it was attached, not where it was cut upon delivery. The doctor cuts the cord an inch or 2 from the body in order to give the body time to heal and close at a point where their cord has joined the body. Now, this piece of the cord that's left on the tummy is called the stump, S-T-U-M-P, stump. Over the next few days, your body will heal your abdomen by forming scar tissue to make your belly button. The stump eventually dries and falls off like a scab falling off of a healed wound. Now, after your baby is born, their umbilical cord is cut that we already talked about, and again, it remains in the navel. Now, the color of the stump, it usually changes. It starts from like a yellowish green at birth, and then it turns black as it dries off, and then eventually falls off. And it usually falls off 1 to 4 weeks later. It does look a little weird, but don't be intimidated. Tending to the umbilical stump is actually a simple matter of keeping the scab clean and dry, so it helps speed the healing. Otherwise, what I'm trying to tell you is leave it alone. But here are about 5 amazing umbilical cord care tips that you can use. Keep it clean. If the stump looks dirty or sticky, dab it gently with a wet washcloth. Don't use soap or alcohol. It's not really necessary. It actually may irritate the baby's skin up underneath of it, and that isn't good for healing. And then again, pat it dry with a cloth. Number 2, keep the stump dry. Help the base dry out regularly by exposing it to air. So if you have a diaper, okay, usually the diaper falls on top of the actual belly button. So fold the diaper down before you do the tape on each side, and that will help by exposing it to air to keep it nice and dry. Number 3, stick to sponge baths. Don't dunk the baby underwater, especially when the navel has not formed yet. So when there's still a stump, don't submerge the baby. Instead, just kind of give them a nice little, quick little sponge bath. They're not sweating. They're not really as dirty as you might think. And again, once the stump falls off, feel free to bathe the baby in a cute little pint-sized tub or something that what I like to call a water hammock. That actually ends up, in my opinion, works the best because the babies are nice and warm. And here's a little hint too. If you can get like one of those cute little space heaters, like the little small ones, carry-on ones, it's great for bath time. The baby will enjoy it, and it won't be such a jarring shock when you take off all their clothes. Just a mom hint right there. Number 4, diaper delicately. So avoid covering the stump with the top of their diaper. Some newborn size disposal features, they have a cute little notch at the waistband, or you can just simply fold it down and tape it like normal. Change wet and dirty diapers promptly so that it doesn't leak upwards towards the navel. And if you've ever seen a newborn poop, okay, it is like everywhere. So again, make sure that you clean it timely. Number 5, dress delicately too. So choose loose-fitting clothes that doesn't press against the stump, or onesies with a special cutout for the stump. Because again, if you use other things that are like harsh, again, sometimes it actually gets stuck. Think of a scab, right? If you have something that's super like irritable, it actually might grab it and pull the stump, and you don't want to do that because it's a healing wound. So think of it just like a scab for anything else. And instead of snap crotch undershirts, try the kimono style, which allows more air and circulation and less rubbing for the baby. Last but not least, resist removing it. Let the scab fall off on its own. Never pull it. Even if it seems to be only connected by the tiniest thread, just let it come off naturally. If it gets pulled off too soon, it can start bleeding continuously. And if this happens, please call your pediatrician, your doctor immediately, in order to make sure that we are able to fix and or apply pressure, cauterize it, and make sure that the belly button is not inflamed, it's not irritated, and obviously that it's not infected. So now you know the science behind all kinds of belly buttons, what causes your belly button to have that shape and size, why it's completely normal for your belly button to pop out on the 3rd trimester, and also awesome changes that happens with pregnancy and why that happens. Plus, you now are ready for that baby's little umbilical stump, and you know how to keep it clean with those 6 amazing different natural ways. So I hope that you love Pregnancy Pukeology podcast. Let me know with 5-star hearts and ratings and likes and all the other good stuff on socials. And don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology podcast, episode 58, Belly Button Changes During Pregnancy. See you next time, guys.
Pukeology Podcast. Edutainment at its finest.